You're watching an episode of Spirits People Live with Johnny Michelson.
Right, I think it's working. Here we go. Spirits Live. We are, once again, Tuesday. And we have a rum tasting today. The spirits of the world. Cheers. Waiting for my friend Steven. We're doing a rum tasting. So today is going to be Cadenhead's 11-year-old Foursquare bottling. 60 point. Jonathan, what's going on? We got some Cadenhead's rum here. So Foursquare 11 year 60 point. Cannot read. This is my friend's handwriting. Bourbon Seeker, what's going on, buddy? Whiskey Edge, Champions League. I am not sure if you're referring to this or that there's some kind of sports ball on as well. Alright, John Tiraldo, what's going on? Don't think we've met. Welcome to the stream. Lisa Whiskey, what's going on, buddy? Alright, we have Steven here in the house. Let's get him on. We can do some tasting. Rum Diaries. See what happens. See what happens. There he is.
How you doing, you right, man?
What's going on, buddy?
Yeah, it's all good, you?
Yeah, not so bad, not so bad. It's a long time no see.
I know, yeah. It's been a few weeks, hasn't it?
Yeah. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, you too.
Get my face in the frame here. There we go.
Yeah. I think we're all better off if mine isn't.
All right. 60.9. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Looks to be.
This is Lee's handwriting. This is obviously it's going to be mirrored here on the live stream, but if you're watching a replay, you can see it. But yeah, there's no way this is a 9.
Yeah, there's no way that that's an 11 either.
Yeah. I'm just assuming it's an 11-year-old.
Yeah, it is.
All right, good. All right. Lisa Whiskey is sleepy in Singapore. All right. Singapore is a great spot to drink whiskey, though. Jonathan's watching Bake Golf. All right, okay. Fair enough. Multitasking. There's some kind of football going on as well. Lots of stuff happening.
There's always football going on.
Oh my gosh. So I don't really watch the football with the foot. I watch the football with the hand.
Right.
So NFL season is also kicked off, but yeah, no games right now. So what have you been up to?
Yeah, not much really. Just completing the end of the year, hoping to keep money in my pocket, and all ready for a trip to Rumfest in October.
Yeah.
And then Barbados in November.
Nice.
So it should be good.
Sweet, man. Speaking of Barbados, are you going to visit these guys?
Always, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you say visit, I say set up camp.
All right.
is the way that it would work.
Hotel Foursquare?
Yeah. Definitely.
Nice. So I guess you've been there a few times. So I guess you have a good amount of contacts there, and maybe some actual like friends. I mean, I don't know how you kind of build relationships with these guys, but assuming you've made some connections for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Foursquare are kind of different to most places there in so much as all tours are free. All tours are self-guided. You just kind of follow the footprints on the floor, and you make your way around. I've been self-guided once, but every other time is Richard Seale's always kind of spared time out of his day to take us around, to get us through the fence, to get us right close to the stills, to walk us around the place. It's just, yeah, it's been great.
Awesome.
But yeah, all other places in there like Mount Gay, the visitor centre in Bridgetown, not worth it. It's just like I say, a glorified gift shop.
Right.
It's in the north. It's in St. Lucie, where you need to be. I believe that they are wanting to start looking at doing like proper tours and bits and bobs.
Okay.
But for now, I've approached Miguel, who's the brand ambassador, to hopefully get us back into that facility. It is great up there. St. Nicholas Abbey, again, turn up, speak to people, pay to get the tour, go and see the distillery, and yeah.
Nice.
So that's all we need to worry about. Those three.
Yeah, man. That sounds awesome. How long is your trip? How long are you gone for?
We'll be there for 2 weeks.
Nice.
It's the first time in 42 years I've ever had a full 2-week holiday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, everything's always been either a week or 10 days. Never really thought I could stomach 2 weeks. But yeah, 10th wedding anniversary, and also it kind of worked out more cost effective to go for 2 weeks than it did to go for the 10 days. So
well, you haven't factored in the rum purchases as part of staying a longer time. So I don't know, cost effective.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't believe the price over there. It's crazy. I mean, I would say that if I could drink one rum till the end of my days, that'd be the bog standard Old Brigand from Foursquare. It's 2 to 3 years old, I think.
Okay.
Pot call and blend, beautiful. It's just, and on the island, you're picking it up for maybe 18, 19 Barbados, which is probably about 10 US.
Okay.
Yeah, so now it's probably about £9. Yeah, very cost effective. Hence the reason that I think I'll be filling a suitcase and bringing it back.
Nice.
Cool.
Awesome. But we do have something on the agenda for today, and while we talk about that, I'll just say hi to people here. So everyone joining, we will be drinking this Foursquare 11-year, which is you can't tell from the handwriting, but that's what it says. So yeah, Cadenhead's bottling of a 11-year Foursquare, 60.9% ABV. So pretty punchy. And this was a sample that was given to both of us by our good friend Lee, aka Mr. Thirsty Belgian, here on Instagram. So Lee, if you're watching, thanks for the sample. I haven't actually tried this from what I can recall, although I have this bottle, and when I looked at it, it was only half full. So a little bit of a mystery. I don't remember drinking that. So, but yeah, should be good fun. So, have you had it before, or it's your first time?
This is the first time of this one for me. I've had a couple of other Cadenheads Foursquares just to try.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think I've ever invested in a Cadenhead's Foursquare. I try and buy distillery bottlings where possible.
Yeah.
Just to kind of, well, essentially keep the money going to the right place.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Cadenheads have. It's a weird one. I think similar to Duncan Taylor, occasionally hit, occasionally miss with certain ones of their bottles. I've had some really good bottles from them. I've had ones that have perhaps not hit the mark.
So I don't think I've ever had a bad Foursquare ever. Obviously, I haven't tried as much as you have, but I mean, it says a lot because you can try a lot.
Yeah.
Stuff. So yeah. All right, Claire is here. What's going on, Claire? I saw Christian was drinking Mount Gay XO.
Nice.
Some good stuff. Cool. So yeah, I mean, we'll be sitting this, and normally when we do this, we just kind of share our notes, and there's no real agenda except for just sitting on this. I will say one thing though, I poured it in 2 different glasses because it's above 60%. So when I drink stuff that's above 60 in these glasses, it tends to be a little bit sharp. So just kind of wanted to compare it with kind of wider glass to see if there's a massive difference. Which there is on the nose. This is just pure ethanol on the nose right now. Are you able to pick anything out?
Yeah, I mean it's very it's quite spirity, but it's quite light as well. It's normally I would expect something at almost just shy of 61% to carry a little bit more on the nose, and it's very light, very easy going.
Mm. So
it's not really delivering a huge. I mean, it's got the wood there, the classic thing. You can pick up the wood, a little bit of coconut from the barrel maybe, but not as the all-encompassing experience I was expecting straight away.
Yeah. So when did you pour yours? Just when we went on, or?
No, this has been in the glass for 15 minutes.
Okay. All right. I'm the same. Yeah. So I'm just trying to heat it up a little bit because it definitely feels like it was unexpectedly quiet.
Yeah.
On the nose, it was definitely very, very alcohol forward, and there was not a lot underneath. So just kind of warming it up a little bit to see what happens.
It is quite light.
What's that?
It is like exceedingly light to what I would expect.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't release anything to independent bottlers, or they don't get anything out to skier or main rum below 3 years. So this will have had minimum of 3 years in Barbados, potentially more. I've not actually seen the bottle, so I don't know if it's given. What was always useful is if it could give you a breakdown of tropical versus continental, or first distillery maturation versus elsewhere. It would be nice if they could give that breakdown, but I suppose sometimes they don't know. I would imagine it probably has the MBFS mark that they normally run with, because it will have come from main rum and then bottled by Cadenheads probably. I did see quite a lot of Cadenhead stuff when we were at main rum.
Okay. So it's funny, I didn't even think about that because I don't drink as much rum as you do, so it wasn't even entered my my chain of thought that the color here, obviously if this was 11-year aged in Barbados, it would have been way darker than this.
Yeah.
And interesting. Yeah, there's probably a link here because it definitely wasn't giving away. Now it's warming up. I'm kind of just like I'm hugging it a little bit, almost like overheating it.
Yeah.
To try to heat up those congeners. And now I'm getting some brown sugar and some raisins. Maybe some coconut, vanilla. But it's quite a simple nose, actually.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, you get the. I'd say it's got dialed down versions of what would be classic Foursquare. So it's a little bit kind of buttery pastry, a little bit vanilla, a little bit of oak, not too dominant. A little bit of coconut from the barrel. It's kind of like fruity raisin scones, maybe. It's maybe a bit of apple, or maybe kind of like more pear in there, but
there's more and more coconut as it opens up for me. All right, so for people joining, we're drinking the Cadenhead's 11-year-old Foursquare. It's kind of we're nosing it at the moment just to kind of see what's happening. So none of us have tried this before, and it was a sample that we both got from a friend. So yeah, just getting into it. Ear Whiskey's here. Last Drop Reviews. Chris is here. Mark Carter is here. What's going on, guys? Doing a rum tasting. What's everyone sipping on out there? Yeah, the ethanol. It's I can't go too deep into the glass here. Actually, I'm gonna try it in the white glass here because I'm starting to burn my nose.
Yeah. It makes me wonder whether, I mean, so this is 11 years. I don't know when this particular bottling would have been bottled, but if it's 2018, I suppose that would have been a 2007. 2017 would be a 2006. All of which, you know, these are years that have put out some unbelievable stuff from the distillery. Yeah. I think you instantly with this one, you pick up that I would say that I don't think it's had a huge amount of time at the distillery. It doesn't really feel like it's got that backbone with it, to be honest. It's got the wood, but it's not got the intensity of wood. Yep. It's more, as you're saying, it's more coconut dominant than anything, really, with maybe a little bit of pastry and raisins there, but nothing really kind of too punchy. It's only a little bit PG. It's when we could do something a little bit more boisterous. I'm not going to say adult. No. Something a little bit more boisterous, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's adult enough on the ABV. Which again, I find like a lot of and American whiskeys do that a lot. Like when you have a very young spirit, not this young, but potentially quite young in the tropical climate in terms of aging, and then like brought over here. But if you bump the ABV to like barrel strength, like you kind of pull out as much of that flavor as you possibly can. But it doesn't always work, but I find a lot of kind of new distilleries or craft distilleries will do that. I guess to get a younger spirit to have a little bit more power, and also like I know like for enthusiasts, like as soon as you see something that's closer to 60%, it's automatically more attractive.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's familiar, but
there's some chocolate now coming out, and this is in the bigger glass. There's more kind of softer, sweeter notes coming out of this that I wasn't able to pick out of the ISO glass.
Yeah.
Bimber Distillery in the house. Congratulations on your launch. It was awesome. Looked like good fun. I don't know if you follow the Bimber guys, but they just released their first bottle.
As in whiskey, or?
Yeah, so it's a London distillery. Yeah.
Right. I've tried their rum at Rum Fest last year.
Nice.
It's their unaged rum. It's good.
Nice. Awesome. All right, should we taste this?
Yep.
See what happens?
I think so. Because the nose is quite dull. So.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, like at this point, there's nothing else coming out. Like the different glasses and stuff. Yeah, this is softer as expected.
Yeah,
with a little bit more toffee and stuff like that on it. But yeah, it remains like a quite. Yeah, it's quite straightforward, like humble in a sense, actually. Because I feel like the notes that are coming through are pretty distinct. They're not like hidden or kind of mellowed out. Like they're definitely coconut. There's definitely toffee. There's definitely some of those raisins in there. So
Yeah, I mean, it follows the theme of it has, things that I would definitely liken to Foursquare and things that make Foursquare so attractive as a producer to me. It's but they all seem to be a little bit dialed down in this one.
Mm. Oh. Alcohol forward.
Thin and hot.
No, the first thing I thought of when I tasted this is cinnamon roll.
Right.
Like brown sugar and cinnamon, and kind of like there's like a softness, like a doughiness to it. Although it's quite sharp. I mean, it's sharp and soft at the same time. I don't know how that translates. A little bit of dark chocolate on the back.
Maybe a touch of orange in there, orange oil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually. Yeah, it's quite a lot of orange peel, actually.
Mm.
A little bit of black licorice. There's some bitter notes are starting to come through. I think it's there's some of that oak that part of me thinks it's oak, part of me thinks it's licorice.
Right.
It's I want to say that it's a heavily charred oak, and that's probably what makes me think of like a black licorice, like a Scandinavian black licorice, like quite salty and bitter. But I don't know where. I mean, I don't know. So in when you do continental aging, you just transfer the barrel, or you don't rebarrel or anything like that. You just take the barrel and move it.
I don't know. It can change. I think I know that they have sold stuff in the barrel, but occasionally I don't know whether they transfer it over in the big containers, and then it maybe gets rebarreled when it gets to main rum, because they definitely end up putting their mark on, because MBFS I think is it's not something that I've seen as would be a Foursquare mark necessarily. It's probably something that they have at main rum. They seem to run a lot of their own marks there. They put their own things on the barrel. But yeah, it's got the coconut, which is classic. It's got the oak, but it's not overly dominant. But I like the kind of oak blanket that a lot of the tropical age Foursquares seem to have. It's almost like a little hand on the shoulders, just pushing everything else through, which is what they do so well is monitor, maintain, and kind of keep check of the stuff that they're producing there, just to ensure that the oak doesn't necessarily become too dominant. Now, I've tried stuff that I think the oak is too dominant and too bitter from them, but it's never been anything that's been a direct product of Foursquare Distillery. It's been the St. Nicholas Abbey 20-year-old that I think they reduced the bottling strength and then rebarreled. That was way too, for me, that was way too bitter. Okay. We tried it over at St. Nicholas Abbey and I couldn't get along with it. But balance has always been the key with a lot of Foursquare stuff, or everything that Foursquare produce. There's nothing that would normally throw things off kilter. They do balance the different casks that they use really well, and they encourage the oak to kind of almost form a spine to which all the other facets of the distillate kind of hang on to and bring their own thing to the party. Whereas this, I think it's getting better the more that the alcohol burns off. But I just think it's quite light. It's as if it's maybe a column heavy distillate as opposed to a large portion of pot. So it's kind of that light alcohol note with it.
Yeah, I was going to say that because it definitely feels like there's, I mean, again, just the simplicity of the flavors. Like there's not a lot developing.
Yeah, I think it's been. No, sorry, go on.
That's a fly. It's like what the. No, yes. As soon as you started talking there, and then you said column, it's like, yeah, it was in my mind that it's a very simple and straightforward. It's not that there's not a lot of notes in there, but it's all the same. It's like a very sweet, like the coconut, the orange peel, like that toffee that I was able to get out of the other glass that I still can't get in this glass. There's still no toffee, but here it's like lots of toffee.
Yeah, it's a strange one because I'd say that yes, it does feel column heavy. I would say it's of its 11 years. I would say that it definitely feels like it's spent more than 50% in continental climate. But then you look at the Paulson collection bottling that was kind of like I think it was a Russian independent bottler, which is the kind of the Foursquare 1998. You have to remember the distillery only opened in 1996. So this the 1998 distillate, which I have, which was 10-year tropically aged, that was taken to I think that did 8 years in the barrel at cask strength. That was then reduced to near to bottling strength, and then put back in the barrel for another 2 years.
Okay.
But that's released at 40%, and that did have an entire 10 years tropical age. That was 100% column. There's no pot in that one.
Okay.
And it possesses 2, 3, 4 times the intensity of this. So that's, for me, I think is a good example of showing, even though it is a column spirit, which is normally lighter, we can't associate that necessarily with being flavourless, because it contains such a large proportion of flavour in terms of the way that they distill it. It won't be distilled to within an inch of its life. It will have been distilled properly, not to too high an ABV. The barrel management would have been there, and I definitely rate the Paulson, which, like I say, all column, 10 years old, 40%. And I think that, for me, offers don't tell me, this isn't a bad rum at all, in no way, shape or form. It's just, it's overshadowed by everything else that they produce.
Yeah.
But independent bottling, isn't it? So that's where you don't have, I suppose it's like the aftercare warranty, isn't it? if you buy something with a full warranty on there, you allow Foursquare to distill it, you allow them to mature it in location, you allow them to control every aspect along the way, and you know that they're going to produce an output, a product that is best representative of their output, and something that they're proud to produce and proud to put out under as a distillery bottling. Yeah. When you get the independent stuff, you kind of you don't get to they don't get to choose. They don't have that control.
Yeah, I guess, and I don't know if different distilleries will have different kind of internal politics around that, like whether or not independent bottlers can put their name on the bottle. Yeah. Because obviously, if Cadenheads had brought the bottle, like let's say they got the barrels after, let's say, 4 years or whatever, brought them over here and then further aged them until 11 years, then how can Foursquare make sure that that's still a good quality product? I mean, essentially they can't. I mean, like they will have enough confidence in their base spirit and the quality of the barrels, but like you could do a bunch of random shit to those barrels, and like it could be horrible. Like,
yeah, they're never going to. For me, I don't think they're never going to produce a bad distillate. It's just how it's then treated in the latter steps.
Yep.
I think it's by a lot of distilleries output, this would be some of their best work. But I just think it's maybe suffered a little bit, maybe with the ABV, maybe with the maturation location, and maybe it feels a little bit column heavy. Not a bad rum, but I don't think necessarily representative of what they do.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's I would agree. And although I definitely don't have the credentials you have in terms of tasting rum, but I feel like this here, decent rum, but it feels like it's a little bit too simple for what it is. Like, even as an independent bottler, I mean, Cadenhead's put out a bunch of really amazing stuff, and this here just feels like, I don't know, it feels quite, simplistic.
Yeah.
I will say, though, I added some water in here, and it's opening a bit.
Right.
Some cotton candy in there now.
I was going to say that just before I just added a little bit more to the glass. I kind of got a little bit of you find that in kind of maybe up to 3-year-old and then filtered rums like the Dawley's 3 or ESA Field. There is a 3-year-old over in Barbados that they bottle, which is also good. But you get kind of like there's a marshmallow kind of note that goes along with the unaged stuff. There is definitely a little bit of that creeping in the more I dive into the glass.
Yeah. I will say, though, the nose opened up a little bit with water. The palate actually opened up quite a bit more.
Mm.
And yeah, marshmallow, maybe, for me, it's like like cotton candy. Yeah, it's quite pleasant now that you've taken away that kind of heavy ethanol explosion. It's I keep on saying cotton candy, but it's like an artificial sweetener of sorts.
Right.
It's quite heavy. It's like those kind of like over sugary bubble gums that you get as a kid.
Right.
In the 80s. I don't know how old you are, but I was a kid in the 80s. You get
I remember those.
giant bubble gums that was like,
Yeah.
you chewed them like 2 or 3 times, and then they were horrible because you chewed all the sugar out.
Yes.
That's the kind of like, that's the kind of sugariness I'm getting here.
Yeah. I mean, I did a little bit more rum to the glass. I did a few drops of water in there. It does kind of get, the oak becomes a little bit more kind of perfumed on the nose, maybe with a touch of water in there.
Yeah.
Starts to open up and give a little bit more sweetness, but
Add a bit more, yeah. Yeah, I think I like it. I like it more and more. It's kind of warming up on me. I think in the beginning I was a little bit disappointed, but I think also in reality, as you say, it's like it's not a bad rum.
yeah,
It's definitely a good rum.
yeah,
But I think you get spoiled. Obviously, like you have a very high bar when it comes to like the quality of rum that you've tasted, and my bar is decently high.
yeah,
But yeah, I think like if you just look at like the mass volume of really poorly made rum out there, this here is an outstanding rum.
yeah, yeah. It's better than 65-70% of the market.
Yeah,
And this is what I wouldn't say is a true representation of the distillery. It's kind of it's where you sit with the GI argument, I suppose. It's I think Luca Gargano from Velius kind of said it in a way where if you take a distillate from, say, Hampden or Worthy Park or Foursquare or Mount Gay, you could age that anywhere, and you wouldn't produce a bad rum as long as you don't mess with it. Yep. You're always going to produce a good rum because the distillate is sound. But is it a true and accurate representation of the island's produce? No, because it lacks the intensity of that tropical or distillery maturation.
Yeah.
Which is why the GIs are stating to be called Barbados rum, or I think the stands had a bit of a drink. To be called Barbados rum or to be called Jamaica rum, you have to it has to be matured at the distillery.
Yep.
To encompass everything that makes the rum of the island. So I think it is the case of, well, it's not a bad bottle. It's not representative of the quality of the distillery's own output.
Yeah.
Which is unfeasibly good.
Oh yeah, it's outstanding. As I said in the beginning, like, people pop in and out here, but yeah, as I said in the beginning, like, I haven't had a bad Foursquare rum.
Yeah.
Like, and I've tried quite a few now, and the more I kind of get into rum, obviously you get a sense of the landscape, and I think this year is new for me because obviously I went in with the expectation, it's like, oh, I can kind of remember all the other Foursquare bottles that I've tried, and was, maybe visibly, I don't know, but like quite disappointed in the beginning. But I think now that I'm kind of reflecting on it, is actually quite nice. And sometimes you just need something that's quite straightforward and something you can sit and sip on without having to be like distracted by tasting notes and distracted by all the different process stuff that went into making it. And sometimes you just need something like this. And for that, it's perfect.
It is. It does. It definitely does the job of simplistic and not too challenging. Well. It's knowing that the stuff that I've tasted from the distill, actually, it's getting a little bit nutty towards the back end as well.
I was going to say there's some black peppercorns, but yeah, I can kind of see the nuttiness. Maybe like a roasted peanut.
Yeah, but I mean, this year's output of Foursquare has it's been nothing short of phenomenal. The Patrimonio, Hereditas, 2007, Emperor, they've all just been, it's all killer no filler, isn't it? They're all you're dealing with finite details. Where how do you differentiate between? I mean, I think I scored Hereditas was maybe a 4.5 or a 4 out of 5, and I just think because you're dealing with some unbelievably, you're dealing with a very high bar. So to give, I've given rums 3 out of 5, and I know that I've not particularly liked them, but I know that they've been good distillates. I've just not got on with them that well. It's like there's a St. Lucia single still from the John Doe. Now, John Doe, I think I do like that still. It's got a really good note to it. But I've given that a 3.5 out of 5. Bloody good rum. Absolutely amazing. It's great, and what you get from there is brilliant. But I just know that I've had better from that still. It's not a bad rum. It's just when you weigh it against something else that I've tried from that distillery, it's not as good. I think you're dealing with finite amounts of pickiness to try and not give everything 4.5 and 5, really.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, it's a tricky one, like scoring and giving marks and stuff like that. I put a lot of thought into that, and like I've wanted for a long time to do scoring and stuff, but like on the podcast, what I do is I follow that WSET like categorization, which is more focused on, again, like the quality assessment rather than whether or not I like it, because that's to some degree that's completely irrelevant. I know there's doing reviews and stuff on YouTube and stuff of whiskeys is super popular, and like to some degree it's also how I figure out what it is that I should try next, because I know certain people that I have similar palates to, but like my opinion in general is useless. Like it's just someone's opinion, right? So unless you have someone who that you know is like, yeah, I like the same stuff with this guy, so there's a high likelihood that his opinion is actually accurate to me. It's a funny one.
It is. I mean, I was reluctant to add scores to my site, and I resisted for a number of years. But then I kind of ran with the theory that if people get to know the site, people read the notes, they can instantly tell from the notes whether they're going to like the rum or not. So I was thinking, well, technically the score is irrelevant, because I may describe what I think through my notes is how the rum tastes, and I do give a conclusion as to whether I like or don't like the product, but that wouldn't necessarily influence someone in terms of they would understand what the rum is like from the notes. So whilst I may not enjoy it, they may know that they might enjoy it from what I'm describing it as. So I could score something 3 out of 5, but describe it in a way that makes someone think, well, that's right up my street, and it might be a 5 out of 5 for them. So I think I was late to the scoring because I wanted to believe that wasn't as important. But what I was getting, or was that what I was losing out on, was the people that are looking at online shopping, have a look at the phone, want to see a review, and then want to scroll to the bottom and see how many out of 5 it's got, and make a decision based on number. Now, if you make a decision based on number, and then you can do it instantly. What you don't want to be doing is sitting reading through 2,500 words about somebody telling you that it tastes like wham bars, apples, and peanuts. It's like, unless you've followed that person for a while and you know their palate, you know that you have something in common. That's when those notes are useful to a person, because you find similar things within certain distillates, and you appreciate certain things from certain distilleries. Whereas by doing both, by putting the descriptions and also giving the score, you cater for both markets. Then you cater for new people to the site that see the score, and you cater for existing users on the site. And I hope that it kind of works, but it's a difficult kind of thing to balance out. Really. And I would definitely. I know that a lot of my notes are based on personal experience, and there are certain random things that go in there, but I would like to think that within there I also assess whether it is a decent distillate, whether I like it or not. I can assess whether it's poor as a distillate or it's good as a distillate. If it's based or at its base level. So whilst we know that this is a sound distillate, it's way more simplistic and it's not representative of the output. So it's a good rum. It's just not good. It's not a great Foursquare rum.
Some people popping in here. So Carlson 903 is listening to this and enjoying a glass of Hereditas. Nice. Jonathan is saying he's bought many a bottle based on your reviews. There you go.
Yeah, but his next message is going to be, and then had to tip them down the drain because they were terrible.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, but there seems to be a small crowd that they will read what Wes is putting out on Fat Rum Pirate. They'll read the stuff that I'm putting out on Rum Diary's blog, and they will know they can complete that holy trinity of awesome by viewing Ivar's website, Rum Revelations. So there are 3 of us that we're not distillery tied. We rarely receive anything through the post, and we're always independent. We don't always agree on certain things, but that's the beauty of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
We each, I think, respect each other's palate and each other's preferences enough to know that we don't all have to be given the same rum 5 out of 5. It's shades really when you're dealing with this. We can all identify a good distillate.
Yeah.
Then the personal item comes in of how much you like it when compared to.
Yeah, I think it also comes down to experience, because obviously there's a certain experience that will give you a better sense of how to score in a somewhat objective manner. I mean, you can never really be 100% objective. There's always going to be some opinion sneaking in there, no matter how hard you try. But I think and again, you use a 5-star. I know there's some people use like the 0 to 100 in whiskey, and other people use like 1 out of 10. And then there's the one that I use, WSET, is completely different. So like, as you say, like people want like a quick rating, but I think because there's so many different versions of rating, it's not like going on to Amazon. It's like, oh, there's 500 ratings, and here's the average of 5. Like you have to do, if you really wanted to do your research, you would have to go and like try to figure out like averages of different scoring systems to really gauge that same thing. Which, and I'm all for it. I love the fact that people want to score it and do it in a certain way. So it's like, I'm not saying that we need a standard, but I think it's just for the consumer, it's still like there's still some research to be done. And also one thing that I've kind of, and this is not proven scientifically, but I think there's more and more people doing more in-depth research. Like there's the glance and like, okay, like it has 5 stars, hit buy. I think there's more people taking that next step in fine spirits and like wanting to know more, wanting to read your blog and like get actual tasting notes and like read the experience rather than just like that kind of, I don't want to say dumb consumer level, but it's like, just kind of like very passive approach to it. And it's just like, 5 stars, buy it. It's like that next step, I think, is a growing trend. And there's a lot of people catering for it, like YouTube, blogs, Instagram, whatever. Yeah.
I mean, it's not cheap. It's not a cheap hobby. So I think key is finding someone that you maybe your palate is in tune with. Then obviously search out. You will definitely search out more people or find in the descriptions people that share your kind of your palate and your viewpoint. I think the score is good. I think there's a reason Amazon do out of 5, and that's because nobody would buy a 2, and most people would buy 3 upwards. I think if you're looking at reviews. So I think I personally would, there are sites that would score, and they would put a score for presentation.
Yeah.
What does that mean? So it means that you've specced up the bottle, but because you've specced up the bottle, is the liquid in the bottle poorer? I mean, you could serve me Foursquare out of a plastic bottle and I would be more than happy. You could serve me Hamden out of a plastic bottle, I'd be very happy. Yeah. But is that flyer I see it as the 60% criteria?
Flies after me. I'm drinking too much rum. I'm sweating here, so the flies are after.
But I think it's a case of we'll get in. You find people that are in tune with you as far as the palate goes. Yeah. And I think the tasting notes are important. Scores are also important. It'd be good if there was a website, maybe something other than rumratings.com, which is pretty poor, really. That would be good to get a website that would take you could list as a series of trusted sites that all score differently. I know, obviously, Serge over at Whiskey Fun, absolutely awesome site, scores out of 100. I personally couldn't differentiate a 91 from a 92. I don't know what makes it there, but I can differentiate a 4 from a 4.5, from a 5, from a 3.5.
Yeah.
I think but I suppose if you deal with it where every one of my marks is 20, so if I score out of 5, that's my 100. So 80 is a 4-star mark.
Yeah.
So I think if you try and judge it that way, there could be a website idea whereby you take these trusted sites, you take the score out of 100, you take the score out of 5, you rationalise the whole thing and come up with a standard scale. And maybe that's the consumer side of things, and maybe people could, smarter people than me, could look at doing something that actually works and takes those 1 out of 100, the 10s, the 5s, the A, B, C, D, 5 barrels out of 6 or whatever, takes those, rationalises and puts them in something understandable.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's there we go. Colson 903 took the words out of my mouth. I find rum ratings as for the couple of us, yeah, and all other kind of shit. It's like ratemyplate.com on there. It's awful. It's just bad.
Is it rum when it's more than 50% sugar?
Yeah, is it rum when it's got a spoonful of sugar in? I would argue not, but yeah, I think there's it's great, but I think the advent of sites like that is you have someone arguing with you that this is a great rum, and it's like, well, from the off chance it ain't rum. It's got so much added. You've got this, and I know, we come from the purist point of view, but
yeah.
And we moan that Diplomatico add sugar and add their liqueur. There's nothing in the rum wars in Venezuela that seemed to stop them doing that.
Yeah.
And now with the new EU guidelines, which essentially states that you're allowed to add up to 20 grams per litre, you're actually stating a limit where someone can go up to. So you're legitimising. Whilst yes, there is a limit on, and there previously wasn't a limit set, other than over 100 would class it as a liqueur. I think it's to the point where by saying there's a 20-gram limit, you legitimise adding that, because you say, well, technically I'm not above 20, therefore I'm in full compliance. But it's like a lot of laws, they are unwritten, aren't they? It's like, don't jump off that cliff, don't jump on that railway track. It's something that just common sense.
Yeah.
But by saying it's okay to jump on that railway line as long as you do it when a train's not coming, it doesn't make it safe to jump on a railway line, does it? So now I think there's scope for it, but...
Quick note, this is absolutely delicious out of this glass. It's such a different rum. It's still very simple, but it drinks completely different.
Right.
It's actually, I'm enjoying that a lot.
So it's tumbler. It's tumbler rather than
it's a tumbler
rather than tasting glass. Yeah.
Because I think like we've squeezed out all the details we could in this, and there's just not that much of it.
Yeah.
But if you think about, and maybe I don't know, like something I think about on the podcast is like the intent of the person selling this, like what's it actually intended for? And I think for me, this is intended for one of these. Just sit and drink it.
Yeah.
And it does it really well. Yeah, the nosing glass was, it didn't work.
Right.
Glassware
Yeah,
comes into the mix.
Yeah, it's the glass that I just have a tendency to drink out of, something like this, or the perfect measure glass, or I just think I put it in there because when I'm drinking it, I'm also jotting down little bits and notes on the iPad or on my phone with a view to putting something together in the future. But maybe what I need to do is double glass it and then actually have one that is just pure enjoyment rather than just brain ticking all the time.
Yeah. Rob was saying pint glass.
2 pint glasses for Rob.
Yeah, one for each.
But, yeah. But no, I think it's it is a simple rum, but obviously you found a bit more enjoyment out of the tumbler.
Yeah, and I think it's something I do it now with whiskey. I don't know why. I grabbed this glass because I was in that mindset as well. It's like when I assess rum or spirits of any kind, like for my podcast or for videos and all that kind of stuff, like I'm in like full scientific like process mode, but like sometimes you just need to sit and just enjoy and not think about it. And I think the intent for this specific rum right here, I think falls smack into that category, and I would drink this all day out of this. Probably like I won't drink it out of this again, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, just seen that. I think it was Carlson had put. Do you think the glass is important? Tend to drink whiskey and rum out of a sherry copita. It's pretty much. Yeah. So, well, the copita that I use, it's very similar shape, isn't it?
Yeah. So this is the ISO glass, very very close to like a small copita. But yeah, I think the glass does matter. I think more so than the glass. I think the surface area and the nosing area is the two things that matter. So like the surface area of like the surface of the spirit versus the opening of the glass. I mean, those two things combined is going to be like the two things that will determine like how it comes across, especially on the nose. I think drinking it, maybe less so, but like nosing it and stuff is more important. Actually, time is running away from us here. We're almost at an hour again.
God.
We need to do there's a giveaway.
Yeah.
Boom. So Spirits Tuesday giveaway before we get cut off here. So we'll jump straight into it and then we'll talk about it. So Stephen, a number between 2 and 13, both numbers included.
I'm going to go for 11.
That is the expected number. All right, it's going to randomize. And the whiskey handle is the winner.
Awesome.
Although that person is not posting 2 bottles in the photos, but 1. So I will have a word, but you are the winner. All right. I don't even have a tote bag. I'm like completely unprepared today. I was just like all over the place, doing laundry and shit.
That's good.
All right, that's the giveaway. That's that out. So yeah, cool. Now we can get cut off in peace.
Yeah, definitely. Well, as I said I'm going to hopefully furnish you with some samples of some very good stuff down in Rumfest. One thing that I would say that if you've got a spare 110 quid lying around, the new Worthy Park single vintage or single estate 2006 vintage. It's first vintage under the actual Worthy Park name. We've had the Habitation Values at 2005, 2006, 2007. I mean, the WPM from Worthy Park, their 2006, for me was the best thing that's been produced, and that was an independent bottling, still distillery aged, but by Velier. This 2006 is 56%. It's full 12 years old, matured in Jamaica, WPL, which is their most commonly aged mark, which is kind of as far as rums go, it's kind of middle lower end of what would be the ester range. But as far as other spirits are concerned, it would be pretty high in terms of ester content.
Okay.
I would say that probably as close to perfection as you're going to get for a Worthy Park product, and it will probably feature. I think at the end of the year, if people were doing a list of rums of 2019, if that's not in most people's top 3, I'll be very surprised. It's bloody brilliant.
Is it going to be the Rum Fest, do you think?
I hope so.
Okay.
We're definitely there. You there on the Friday for the boutique event? Potentially, yeah.
Okay.
It may be an on top of the counter. It may be an under the counter. But worst case scenario, I'll decant a little bit for you so you can enjoy it at your leisure. It's beautiful.
I'll stand next to you, so I'm officially in there by association.
Yeah, and then you'll be able to see just how unpopular I really am. But no, I mean that is as rums go, it's phenomenal. It's verging on one of the best things I've drunk this year, and I've drunk a lot of good stuff.
Nice. And with that said, Stephen, because now it's on a countdown here, so I think we'll be cut off in a second.
Mm-hmm.
thank you so much for joining. It's been awesome to see you again, man. If I don't talk to you before, I'll see you at Rumfest.
Definitely.
And, yeah, I'll bring you a couple of goodies. You're there. You're there on the Friday, right?
I'm there from Thursday until Monday.
All right. So I'll definitely see you. I'll bring you some goodies. And yeah,
Awesome.
Thanks again, man.
Yeah, cheers for having me.
Thank you for watching this episode of Spirits People Live. For more videos, check out spiritspeople.com, subscribe on YouTube, and be sure to follow us on Instagram, where we connect you with spirits people worldwide.